Now let's take a look at some more questions from the 2022 HSC Standard 2 Maths paper. So we have multiple choice question 11. In 10 years, the future value of an investment will be 150,000. The interest rate is 4% per annum and this is compounded half yearly. Which equation will give the present value of the investment? All right, so we know future value is present value times 1 plus the rate to the power of the number of periods. This means present value is future value divided by 1 plus the rate to the power of the number of periods. We're told 10 years, but compounded half yearly. So n is 10 times 2, which is 20. So we're looking for something that has a power of 20. So it's either B or D. And then the rate is 4% per annum, but that needs to be divided by 2 because it's not compounded per annum, it's compounded half yearly. So the rate is actually 2. So we're looking for something with a rate of 2%, 0.02, a number of periods of 20, so that's going to be option D. So that's the answer to this question. So now let's have a look at question 12. For a particular course, the recorded data shows a relationship between the number of hours of study per week and the marks achieved out of 100. A least squares regression line is fitted to this data set. The equation of this line is given by m is 20 plus 3 times h, where m is the predicted mark and h is the number of hours of study per week. Based on the regression equation, which of the following is correct regarding the predicted mark of a student? All right, so we're just going to test these as we go along. So we'll have a look at A. It will be 3 for 0 hours of study. Well, 0 hours of study means h is 0. This implies the mark will be 20 plus 3 times 0. That'll be 20. So no, it won't be 3 for 0 hours of study, it will be 20. So it's definitely not A. B tells us it'll be 20 for 0 hours of study per week. Well, actually, we just found that this was true when we tested A. If h is 0, this implies the mark will be 20. So this is true. And so therefore the answer is B. And for these questions, you only have to find the right answer. Right? Multiple choice questions you should be doing really quickly. You don't need to check all of them. Once you find one that's true, that's the answer. So question 13. We're told a random variable is normally distributed with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. The table gives the probability that this random variable lies below z for some positive values of z. The probability values given in the table are represented by the shaded area in the diagram. What is the probability that a normally distributed random variable with a mean of 0 and standard deviation of 1 lies between 0 and 1.94? Okay, so let's draw our bell curve. So it looks like this. The values in the table above give us from 0 all the way down to minus infinity. In the question, we've been asked between 0 and 1.94. So that's from here up to 1.94. Now there are 50% of scores down here. So when we find our value in the table going from minus infinity to 1.94, we need to minus 0.5 from that because we're not going to be including this whole bottom half. So the table tells us the probability of 1.94 is 0.9738. So probability associated with 1.94, the cumulative probability up to that point is 0.9738. To get the probability between 0 and 1.94, it's 0.9738 minus the 50% at the bottom, which is 0.4738. And this is answer B. It's an incredibly easy question to mess up, because when you look at it, you think, oh, 1.94, 0.97, that's answer D, therefore it's D. No, that's wrong. The question specifies from 0 up to 1.94, not from negative infinity up to 1.94. So you really got to read these questions in order to get them. They're designed to trick you. So now let's do question 14. Which of the following correctly expresses x as the subject? All right, we'll just rearrange it. This should be entirely possible for every student in the standard maths curriculum. This should be possible to do. So I multiply both sides by 2. This gives me 2y equals ax minus b. Add b to both sides. This gives me 2y plus b is equal to a times x. Divide both sides by a. Therefore, x is equal to 2y plus b over a. 2y plus b over a is answer A, and so therefore answer A is the correct answer. So nice, easy algebra rearrangement. Usually these exams will have something like 5% of the exam will be algebra, so be able to do basic algebra, because easy marks if you can do it. Now, the last question in this set, question 15, the cumulative frequency graph shows the distribution of the number of movie downloads made by 100 people in 1 month. Which box plot best represents the same data as displayed in the graph? Okay, so we're just going to draw our own box and whisker plot by finding the numbers at the quartiles. So if we look at the 0th quartile, so the cumulative frequency, we're looking for number 0, and we go across, that gets us to 2. So we'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 2, I'm just going to label this 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if we go across from the 0 on the cumulative frequency axis, we get to 2. If we go across from 100 to the cumulative frequency, we get to 9. So we know these are the ends of the whiskers. Now we need to look for 50%. Well, we go to the cumulative frequency, we go to 50, which is in between 60 and 40, drag that across, that's a 6. So the middle of the box and whisker plot will be at 6. Now we need to do the 25th and the 75th. So we go to 25, drag that across, that's a 3. We go to 75, drag that across, that's a 7. So our box and whisker plot should look something like this. Now, of all of the possible box and whisker plots here, the one that is exactly like this is C. And so C is going to be the best possible box and whisker plot that represents the cumulative frequency graph. And C is in fact the correct answer.